All right, everybody, welcome back to Slept on Sports, the podcast where Medill graduate students share interesting, lesser-known sports stories that have been slept on. I am Connor Grohl, and today I am joined by...
This is Mack Liederman. Hello.
This is Mike Tyrell. I'm back again.
My name is Brandon Rudy.
This is Shaaz Peerani.
It's Brandon Fleischer.
Brandon Schaff.
All right, and as usual, we have no idea what each other will be talking about, so hopefully all of us and you, the listener, will learn something. We're going to try to do it a little bit differently this time. We're going to split this up into 2 episodes, so you'll get the first half of the show on Monday. You're probably listening to it on Monday. And the second half of the episode will be coming out on Thursday to give you more Slept on Sports throughout your week. So how is everyone doing today?
Connor, we're wonderful.
Pretty good.
Fantastic.
Shaaz, we're happy. Look at, we got some newbies.
Yeah, we got
this
some-
week.
Got a couple
This is
newbies in the house
exciting.
today.
Wait, can we talk about your intro? Because that was a little weird for me.
I thought it was beautiful.
Okay, never mind.
A beautiful thing,
Look,
sir.
It's a beautiful thing. You got to give the people what they want.
They want that?
I think they do. I think they want an intro that they will enjoy
And they'll remember.
and they'll remember.
Yeah.
And never forget.
That's the key.
Guys, I'm beaming with excitement to be on this show.
I'm not going to lie, Mike, no one has commented on the first episode and said, I really enjoyed Mike's intro.
Because I didn't have one yet.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah. Don't worry.
It's only the second episode. Yes.
All right, let's get the show going. Anyone want to go first today?
Shaaz is going.
All right,
All right,
I'm gonna kick it
Shaaz,
off.
let's
All right,
go.
So I want to talk to you guys about the Indian Premier League.
Okay.
So this is a league in India. It's actually not soccer, but it's cricket. So this league started in 2008. So before this, cricket was mainly about you're playing with your country, you're playing for your country. That's all it was. So you were going to have series against, so let's say if you played for India, you traveled to England for a week, play a few matches there, so on and so forth. That's how the season went. With this introduced in 2008, cricket became like a fantasy league for rich people in India. So you have guys from all over the world coming into India to play on these teams, and the way they make these teams is you're auctioning off these players. So before the season starts, all the teams are sitting in a room, you've got your little auction cards, and you're basically sitting there auctioning on players who you want on your team. So these guys have a list of like, all right, so these guys are coming up to the market, I'm gonna go and auction on, bet on this guy for my team. So there's about like 8 teams, that's how it started. Major cities like Mumbai, Chennai, Rajasthan, big states like Punjab. And the cool thing about these teams were that only 3 players on your starting lineup could be foreign or international. The rest of the team was made up of Indian players, but how are you going to have so many players from one country be that good? So
Right.
this was kind of like a kickoff for a lot of younger cricket players. This is where it's kind of like they're, all right, cool, I can play in these teams with great big players, but now it's my time to shine on this big stage. So it's kind of a good place for younger players, and it's pushed India's cricket up where it was kind of going down for a bit. So owners, great thing about the owners in this league, there's guys like Mukesh Ambani, whose net worth is $85.1 billion.
Holy.
$85.1 billion. This guy's an owner. You have a guy like Shah Rukh Khan, who is the richest actor in the world. In the world. You can look that up. So
More than Leo DiCaprio?
Oh, easily.
How much is this man worth?
I think it's like 600 or 700 million right now.
Lord.
That's a lot.
mercy.
That's
All
an
right.
actor.
Like,
Yeah, just off of acting. Like, it's ridiculous.
I don't even know what you do with that money.
You don't. You don't do
the
anything with-
houses of these
Yes.
guys in India is ridiculous. Like, if you get time, look up the house of Mukesh Ambani in India. It's like 20 or 30 something floors, and
He's just
It's
buying his own.
ridiculous.
He's got his own hotel.
It's
He's
ridiculous.
got an elevator.
He
Yes.
literally owns the Yankees of India in Mumbai. The Mumbai Indians are literally the Yankees of this league. So the cool thing about this league also is they've had some scandals throughout this.
talk
So-
about the scandals.
Yeah. So 2013, they had some players. So I'll give you an example. So in cricket, you're bowling 6 balls in an over. That's 1 over, and each team is batting 20 overs. So that's an inning. 20 overs is 1 inning. So in each over, you're bowling 6, and your bowlers can maximum bowl 4. So when a player comes to bowl his over, he puts a towel, depending on what he's going to do, on his right or left hip. This tells the batter at home sitting that, all right, he knows what the signal is going to be, and this signal means that he's either going to bowl it and blow it and let the guy score many runs. So the bettor's going to sit at home and go, okay, I know he's going to blow this over, and I'm going to put money on the over for this over, basically.
Wow.
Depending on where he's putting the towel before each ball.
That's amazing.
That's how crazy this is. So they broke this down. They found phone calls and text messages and all this crazy stuff. And one of the best teams in the league was banned for 2 years.
Wow.
And this team actually had the greatest Indian captain of all time, Mahendra Singh Dhoni. He's the GOAT Indian cricket captain. Not greatest cricketer, but greatest captain ever. So just having him involved in the scandal, a lot of older cricket players as well. And this league's also a great place for old guys just to retire and play the rest of their career at. Just make some easy money, and it's basically a fantasy league for rich Indian people. So this is something like, it's kicked off huge. Like the amount of people that go to these matches. Also, one more thing is they've introduced cheerleaders in India. It feels like for the first time. So that's.
Are we talking Dallas Cowboys level cheerleaders?
I don't know if we're talking Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, but we're talking. So this has kind of changed the course for cricket, and a lot of countries have started making their own Premier Leagues. So there's in Bahamas, they made one in 2015 or something around that. Australia's done the same thing. Pakistan's made a league. So this is kind of like the kickoff of cricket's way of starting to make money after finally getting out of just playing international cricket.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So going back to the part you were talking about, the scandals in Indian cricket, do you see any parallels between that and kind of what the Houston Astros were up to a little bit? Like, what's kind of like the extent of how that kind of played out?
Yeah, so this team basically they weren't doing it for the win. They were basically doing it for money. It was, corruption's a big
The
thing.
Chicago Black Sox maybe a little more apt.
Like some players just don't care that I'm going to go for the trophy, that will come or won't come, but let me get that money and secure it. So it's like, it's very different than the Astros. Astros were cheating just so they could win, and this was kind of like, they weren't cheating for themselves, they were cheating for other people betting.
Yeah. So
It's kind of different.
why do you think winning is not so much a priority in the league then?
Because Indian Premier League, like I said, it's changed. It's a way for cricketers to finally make money. So before, like I said, it was just international. So they were representing your country, and through that, how much money can you really make? You have federations taking money, taking cuts, and that's only like top players in the world. Now with this, all right, it's your chance to get in the league and start making some money. And this is basically the main way cricketers make money now. And this is how you get advertisements, because this is the biggest league in the world for cricket.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like we all got to start playing some cricket now. I mean, I could use this payday.
I was going to ask you if you think this impacted how like the fans view the sport. I would assume they would, not be happy with that.
Well, people knew it was coming, but it's changed the way they do see the sport. Now it's kind of become more of a thing like, all right, let's stop it. Let's cut it at it where it is.
Right.
They've also laid down more rules and more legislation about it. So that was a big point, because they did ban MS Dhoni's team for 2 years.
Wow.
And that team is one of the favorite teams in the league. So just having that team banned for 2 years was kind of like a staple in Indian sports. Like, okay, we're going to...
Enough whistleblowing finally happened, yeah.
Like, I definitely think this has been going on before it stopped in 2013, for sure. But, like, just stopping them at this point was good, because, or else who knows where this would have gone. And honestly, you don't know. They might still be doing it to this day, but...
It's a little more low-key now.
Yeah, for sure.
It looks like it's a relatively new league.
Yeah, it came out in 2008 was the first season.
Okay.
So seasons usually go from March to about end of May, June. So it's like 3-4 months. And they come together in India. So the whole league is played in India. It's basically big stadiums, crowded. It's a good moneymaker. Big time moneymaker.
I see here in 2019 it says the league was worth $6.7 billion US.
Yeah, and
6.7.
that's less than
That's
like
big money.
12 years hanging around.
That's unbelievable.
Especially for
Yeah.
the time
Why
it's
do
been
you
around.
think the United States has never tried to embrace cricket?
The U.S. actually has. So last year they brought a few international matches to Miami, in the South Side. A lot of cities are starting to make big cricket facilities. In Houston, I know they made a facility with like 8 to 10 cricket fields. Dallas, the same thing. I actually played a tournament in Dallas 2 years ago, which had like 8 fields. Atlanta's making a huge facility with training and like outdoor and indoor cricket practice facilities. So the U.S. is kind of getting more familiar with cricket. I've noticed it because I've kind of been around the cricket in the U.S. I know we've had 1 or 2 players actually be in the Indian Premier League these last 2 years. So it's kind of bringing more attention, but the main thing is get people talking about it and find out how interesting and exciting the sport is. The Premier League also so cricket was kind of like 50 overs. So like I was saying, you bowl 20 overs and the other team bowls 20 and you bat. it used to be 50 overs versus 50. So you'd bowl 50, then they're bowling 50. That's 300 balls a match. That cut down to 120 with the IPL. So like it went from 6 to 7 hour matches to 3.5 hour matches. So it made it easier for kids and families to watch instead of sitting
Yeah, it's a
around
much more
for a whole
manageable
day.
consumer product for sure.
For sure.
I think that's been maybe not as much, but probably also a problem, abroad. But I think one of the big detractors for us in America is that we kind of have this idea of cricket being like days-long matches, and no one's kind of that interested in that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say like, "Oh, isn't it 5 days?" Yes, that there is a format that is 5 days called Test Match, but you're not going to sit there and watch that for 5 days long. No way. And 1 day matches is basically like the 7-8 hour matches, which are the longer. And this T20, which they call it 2020, is this format, which it's changed the game and it's just made it faster and more enjoyable, and it's more of like leisure and entertainment now than it used to be.
I see that the Indian national team won the third World Cup in 2011.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Premier League, the introduction of the Premier League, helped fuel that, perhaps, or has that maybe unrelated?
It definitely made a difference because a lot of our younger players came from the Premier League, like I said. So having that kick in 2008, we got a lot of young bowlers like Ashwin in 2010 or 11 came in. A lot of great young cricketers are coming from this Premier League, so that definitely helped. They went in 2011. And then them winning in 2011 actually helped even IPL gain more of a fan gathering or viewing, as you would say. So they definitely correlate with each other, back and forth, but yeah, that's definitely played a role.
I like it.
Right.
Yeah, that's exciting.
I like it a lot. I like the international impact, and I like how you were saying this league kind of jump-started other leagues around the world to kind of do similar formats and really grow the sport.
Yeah, well done. That was very exciting.
I would have never known. Talk about a slept
And
on
that is what this
How about
podcast is
that?
for.
This is exactly what we're looking for here. Perfect content. First day already hits it right out of the park. Matt, you're a newbie.
You're a newbie, Mac. You want to share us your slept-on story?
Shaaz, you came out the bat with a really great story. It's a true tough act to follow, but
It's a great way to start.
we'll see what I can do here.
All right,
All right,
good done.
Let me start my story with a question. How about that? What do you guys think has been the single greatest promotion of 2020?
Promotion.
Business
Oh.
promotion.
The Travis Scott burger from
Yes.
McDonald's. Yes.
The Travis Scott
It's the first thing
burger
that comes to mind.
from McDonald's.
Yeah.
Hands down, Travis Scott burgers have been so popular, they have sold out pretty much everywhere nationwide, that it has led to a national quarter pounder shortage. The Travis Scott burger is something of kind of like an amped up quarter pounder of cheese that's fries with barbecue sauce and a Sprite. So you see Travis taking his own little signature twists on his own burger and kind of making it personal to him, what he ate growing up going to McDonald's before, he became Travis Scott.
That's my question though. How did he eat this growing up going to McDonald's? And then it's like this is a special burger for him. Like this has been. I go to McDonald's a lot. This has been on the menu forever.
Where's the Brevin burger?
You can order a burger with like they have a bacon quarter pounder and a Sprite. And Travis Scott's like, no, I invented this.
But don't forget the
I
barbecue
think it's
sauce.
mainly because he just lowered the price.
yeah, that's good. That's all it is, right?
Yeah.
He mealed it together and was like, here
Yeah.
you go for cheaper.
That's right, it's the market.
This man's the first one to have a McDonald's Sprite. It's like
Yeah.
it's one of the best memes ever. Yeah.
But then what happened right afterward? J Balvin came out with a new one too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
With his,
He's
little
with his
McFlurry
Big Mac and the
stuff, yeah.
McFlurry.
But
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
kind of the interesting part of it, you know what I mean? So the fact that there's this kind of this large public embrace of a hip hop artist in pop culture to be, on the face of a McDonald's burger, which is something that doesn't happen very much. It's kind of like a groundbreaking moment in many ways.
I like it.
So let me set the scene here a little bit. So back when the Travis Scott burger first came out, we saw Travis at a not very socially distanced party down in California, standing on top of his Volkswagen, kind of bumping with a whole huge crowd of people outside McDonald's, them taking pictures with their signature swaggy McDonald's shirts, and kind of pictures of them like hanging out over the griddle. And that led to a television commercial too that was really popular, and this kind of marketing of Travis Scott in partnership with McDonald's. And we saw Scott as kind of like his signature action figure, speaking kind of like maybe his real voice now, talking about like how he used to order this back in Houston. So kind of what McDonald's is really selling here is kind of Travis Scott as a cultural idea and engaging with him.
You're really breaking this down, Mac. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I
It's
feel
not-
like most people would just see the commercial and they'd just be like, yeah, Travis Scott. It's sick.
Yeah, it's
But
not-
like, this changes it up a little bit.
Travis Scott, on the other hand, what he's getting out of this is kind of like increasing his mysticism as a pop culture figure because,
Wow.
as I mentioned before, not too many people kind of reach this height of superstardom where they have their own signature burger. Like I would love one. I don't want to have one yet.
The Big Mac.
The Big Mac, yeah.
Wait, that would be awesome. Can you do that, please?
I'm working on it, man.
J Balvin beat you to it. He already took the Big Mac.
I'm gonna get the 10-piece chicken McNuggets and a Diet Coke. Okay? That's the Brevin burger.
That's the Brevin burger.
That's the Brevin meal.
Yes.
But not too many people realize kind of Travis Scott was not the first person to have their own signature meal at McDonald's.
See, this is what I'm interested in because where does the slept-on sports element come into this?
See, you're maybe asking, Mac, how is this a sports story? And that's a really good question. How is this a sports story?
What a great
As of right
segue.
now, it is not.
It is not.
The Travis Scott burger is not a
Hey,
sports
to be fair, Travis Scott, avid Houston Rockets fan.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Avid Houston Rockets fan. So it all comes together.
Right.
That's it.
Let's have faith in our
The
main man
Rockets are
here.
not slept on. They are very bad at basketball. Let's be honest. Continue.
What if I told you that there was one man who kind of paved the road to this moment we have of Travis Scott being accepted through his burger? And back in 1992, there was a burger, a signature burger from McDonald's, sold exclusively in Chicago.
Michael Jordan.
Slow down. It had pickles, raw onions, bacon, and barbecue sauce. You know what that sounds similar to? The Travis Scott burger. And you know what this burger was called? It was called the McJordan.
The McJordan.
I like it.
There we go.
Yes.
Only in Chicago.
I'm so happy.
So let me set the scene here. The year was 1992. The Dream Team was taking the world by storm in Barcelona. The Bulls were coming off their second consecutive championship. And Michael Jordan, hands down, was the biggest sports figure in the universe.
Amen.
He was everywhere, not only as a basketball figure, but as kind of like this new marketing global machine of capitalism in his own way. He had partnerships with Nike, Gatorade, and McDonald's. And something people don't really know about MJ is that MJ loved McDonald's. Early in his career, even when he was training hardcore, doing like the MJ mentality stuff, lifting all the time, getting his body ready for the bad boy Pistons. On his breaks, he was eating McDonald's.
That I did not know.
He loved McDonald's so much he used to eat it after his workouts, and despite the fact he consumed kind of an ample amount of McDonald's, he still remained with a 4% body fat throughout that whole period of his career.
I knew he was a big steak guy, but I guess it was when he wasn't eating steak, he was eating
He
McDonald's.
was eating McDonald's and he was making money off McDonald's, and the McJordan became such a cultural icon that last year a jug of McJordan barbecue sauce sold at auction for $10,000.
Wow, no surprise.
That's impressive. That's pretty cool. Makes
That's
sense. I mean,
crazy.
we're talking about,
Michael Jordan, right?
I mean,
do we even need to elaborate more than that?
What was the saying? Be like Mike. That's it.
But it's kind
That
of
was the promotion.
That's
back
kind of the
then.
same
That's
point
beautiful.
too. Like once again, kind of like making these inroads into black culture. The fact that you can eat this burger and feel closer to Michael Jordan. You can feel exactly like Mike, as you could feel similar to Travis Scott. Growing up in Houston before he made it as this big time rapper.
Yeah, and it just shows you another example of Jordan, how he's not just the greatest basketball player of all time, in my opinion.
That's what I like to hear, Mike.
But he is, just paved, like you said, like the marketing value and everything that he brought and just what he meant as a cultural icon. I think it was just so significant. I mean, I didn't know that, to be honest. I didn't know that he had that meal named after him.
No,
So,
me neither.
That's makes sense though. It doesn't surprise me one bit.
He changed what it meant to be a superstar athlete.
Yeah.
It's more than just what he did on the court. Like obviously people would always pay attention to these guys as celebrities, but like he really made it a thing. And I actually talked about this on the last podcast when I was talking about how Kevin Durant, when he, went off and did he's doing all his investments and things while he's been playing. Jordan, even back then with all of these promotions and things like that, he was the first person who really started that transition of like actually actively participating in that kind of stuff. So that's actually crazy that you brought that up right now, because that was one of my big points.
This idea that like celebrities can be like us too,
Yes.
In fact, that we can buy something that makes us feel like we are
You're
like
connected
our
to
celebrities.
them.
In many ways, that started with
Yeah.
Jordan.
It did.
And we see that kind of continuing because there's something, the thing that is incredibly essential to American culture is the idea of celebrity and sellable celebrity. And you can say kind of Michael Jordan in many ways has been like the quintessential black celebrity of our time. And we see, new people trying to do that now too. And McDonald's, they're smart enough to recognize that. And it's interesting to think about how the burger has kind of upped in price recently. From Jordan to MJ, from MJ to Scott, fans paid only $3.59 for the McJordan, while the Travis Scott burger runs for $6. So we kind of see like the increased mutation of this idea just continuing further. So I guess the question is, who's getting a burger next?
Who's getting it next? Who's up next in line?
Well, obviously it's Brevin.
McJames.
Obviously, it's Brevin.
Brevin's
It's a
coming
chicken
up.
nugget burger.
It's just a 2 large Diet Coke.
Yeah, a lot of times.
There you go.
We said this last time we were talking about the
did.
Vikings '98 season.
Oh, God.
And they had some Diet Coke before. That was a little joke, and Brevin kind of teased out.
He appreciated that.
Yeah,
I still
I've had a couple
can't.
Diet Cokes.
I still can't handle the $10,000 on eBay for the barbecue sauce. Like that's just.
It's crazy, but it is so expected for a Michael Jordan product.
It doesn't.
The Jordan
Anything it touches,
is out of control.
It turns to gold.
Especially with the last
That's what
Yes.
kind of makes Jordan like
Especially
the greatest
now.
marketing subject of all time, though, is that you can buy low-end Jordan products, you can buy high-end Jordan products, and most of them appreciate in value, which you can't say really about anyone else maybe who's marketing
That's a good point.
themselves in a similar way.
Yeah.
Definitely shoes, even after so many years. It's getting even crazier now. The amount of people who are buying his shoes, and Jordan's brand is getting bigger every day.
Yeah, honestly.
It shows
Absolutely.
how big of like an icon he is too.
I think it'd be
It'll
a
be
good
like
idea
that.
to bring back the McJordan, honestly, ever since this whole Last Dance thing and kind of
They
this
could.
renowned obsession with, 90s Chicago Bulls culture, I think.
I don't know why they
I'd
didn't
love to
do
eat
that.
it.
Travis Scott might have a problem with that now.
Yeah, I know, it's a rivalry.
Yeah, I want to know what Travis Scott, like, what he brings in from every Travis Scott meal sold. Because there's got to be, like, there's got to be something there.
He's got to get a commission.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's he?
Like, what if someone just, like, goes and orders a Travis Scott meal but doesn't say it as a Travis Scott meal? Like, I just go and order, like, the burger,
Well, that's
the
what I
Sprite,
had to
and the
do.
fries separately. And, like,
Right.
does Travis Scott get any money from that?
Yeah.
These are the questions that keep me up at night.
When they would
Or for just saying, yeah, I like this quarter pounder.
Yeah, which I've already, like, I've eaten that, like, multiple times before Travis Scott ever said it was his.
That's a good point.
That's literally what I would have to do when they would look at me like I was crazy for even trying to order it. They should be like, "What is that?" I'd be like, "Quarter pounder, please." I give them the Sprite.
With the Sprite.
With the Sprite and
With the
barbecue
Sprite.
sauce. It's sauce.
Yes, there you go.
And that's
Alright.
pretty much it. Yeah, some money.
Yeah, the barbecue sauce was kind of the signature twist there, right, on the Travis Scott burger. And
Yeah.
I guess MJ also likes barbecue sauce on their burger. I was just researching
Extremely
this.
popular.
I thought it was interesting how comparable, like, their burgers, like, breaking it down, like, the substance within it, like, how similar they were.
Which one do you think tasted better?
I don't know. I wasn't alive in 1992, but you were, so maybe.
Oh, Mike.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, the
I
grandpa
was
of the
in my-
group.
Yes, I was in my crib. Really.
To clarify,
I was
man
gonna-
is not 40.
I was going to say low blow, but that is actually very accurate.
I was alive, so
Eating
yeah.
Jordan in my crib.
Yes, eating. Yes, I probably like it.
Mac, I like that.
That was
nice.
good. Yeah.
Thank you for telling us the story of the McJordan. We have Shaaz, we have Mac, the newbies coming on strong.
Guys,
right.
as I said, I was nervous, so I'm glad it.
I think you did
You made it
amazing.
work.
I think you did a good job.
You did amazing,
I'm
Mac.
happy that I guessed it right off the get-go because I didn't know where you were going with that. But
Oh, really?
I mean, we just knocked it out of the park.
Brandon, I
That's
know
right.
you have a story you want to tell us.
You might as well.
I'm ready. I'm fired
Let's
up.
get it.
Let's do it.
As I always am. This is a great thing. So we're going to take a trip to Seattle now. We're going to Seattle.
Have you been to Seattle before?
I have not. We're at bad start. Have not been to Seattle. Have not ever seen the Seahawks in person. But we are going to talk about the Seahawks right now. And what I want to talk about specifically is my man, Shaun Alexander.
All right.
I like this.
Shaun Alexander,
this.
one of the most slept-on running backs in the history
Did have a Madden
of the
cover.
NFL. Now, here's my point, though. This man, when he first started out, right? Okay, so he became the MVP in 2005. Obviously, you become the MVP in the NFL, people are going to know who you are. At the beginning of his career, when he was drafted by Seattle in 2000, when literally no one knew who this man was, he was putting up numbers that were literally on par with Marshall Faulk, who was literally leading the way with the Rams, with the greatest show on turf, trailing him by only a touchdown a season at the beginning. And nobody was talking about him at all. So much so that in his second season, he literally led the NFC and set a franchise record with 16 rushing touchdowns. Still nobody's talking about him. And then they start, and that was actually in his third season, but they literally made a show in Seattle that they named it after him. They called it Shaun Alexander Live, where they would literally make fun of the fact that he was putting up all of these numbers and everybody would just consistently not talk about it
Wow.
because everybody's talking about the Rams. Whole time, still the Rams right now. And obviously the Patriots have just came into play now. So now everybody's like, okay, this is the new era. We're moving in that direction. Now, he still continues. He goes year after year, every single year, 16 touchdowns, 16 touchdowns. They make the playoffs again. Then, for the first time since 2000, after he gets there, in his third season. Fourth season, he has the second... so he moves up to have the second most rushing yards in a single season behind Curtis Martin of the Jets.
Oh.
And still nobody's talking. And at the end of the game, he even gets passed up very similarly. This is why I actually thought this was interesting. So we know about the Super Bowl where Marshawn Lynch gets passed up. And everybody's always talking about this, Malcolm Butler, what would have been, right? Oh, yeah, slept on Super Bowl.
I don't think anyone's ever heard of this.
Dude, why does nobody ever talk about that Patriots-Seahawks Super Bowl? That's the real question. But we know about Marshawn Lynch. But this actually the exact same thing happened to Shaun back when he was literally playing in the playoffs, and he was going against the Falcons, the poor Falcons. Got passed up on the goal line to win the game, gets mad at his coach, it's a whole big thing, but then no matter. I mean, they wind up losing this game, so it's not even that big of a deal. But then they move on the next season. Now, this is when he starts kicking it up a notch. He turns into Derrick Henry, basically, and he's literally going for like 80 yards a game, and he kicks it up, MVP caliber season, 2 4-touchdown games, led the NFL in yards, touchdowns, most Pro Bowl votes, most points, became the franchise leader in rushing yards, beat Walter Payton's record for 100-plus yard games against 9 straight division opponents, which that's obviously, crazy. When the Bears were going off, my lovely Bears, the monsters in the Midway back in the 80s, they were doing that all the time, but it hadn't been done in a couple decades. He's going off. Now he gets to this MVP level. And finally, right before this man's career just literally dips off the face of the planet, he set the single-season touchdown record with 28 rushing touchdowns.
Oh, wow.
28 rushing touchdowns.
That is actually ridiculous.
He joined Emmitt Smith, Priest Holmes, Marshall Faulk with consecutive 20-touchdown seasons. It was unbelievable. He went to the Super Bowl. He was in Super Bowl XL. And even after playing injured in the playoffs, he had a concussion. He was the leading rusher with 95 yards, which doesn't sound that impressive, but this man just got injured and he still went to the Super Bowl. They didn't win the Super Bowl, but he still did that. But then the tragic end, he gets the cover of Madden. And
they finally start talking about Shaun Alexander.
And they finally start talking about him on the cover. He's on the cover. He actually becomes the only player to be on the cover of the NCAA football game and also Madden. So he's the only player that's ever done that where he's been on both. And he broke his foot 3 weeks into the season right after. So this man, it was an unfortunate thing, but he had his time. He was slept on, then he wasn't. And now he's back. He's reemerged in 2020.
And I do feel like you were talking about him getting slept on earlier in his career, and he does get the Madden cover, and that, unfortunately kind of leads to an injury that pretty much, leads to the end of his career. But I think even now, when we're thinking about the greatest running backs, in NFL history, or at the very least in the 21st century, we talk about a lot of the names that you mentioned. We talk about the Marshall Faulks and the LaDainian Tomlinsons of the world, but we really do not hear that many people talking about Shaun Alexander.
No.
Yeah, and it's interesting because his career ends, I would say, prematurely, but he's 31 when that happens, so he did have a nice 7-8 years already in the league. And I'm looking at this 2005 season, the year they win the MVP, the year that they go to the Super Bowl and lose to the Steelers. He has almost 2,000 yards rushing.
Yeah.
I mean, that was incredible. And, I think he averages 117 yards a game on the ground.
Yeah.
So, this was an incredible season, and he's 28. That's you're getting up there at the running back age, especially in today's standards, and he's killing it that year.
What's so crazy too is that we talk about recency bias, and that's obviously going to invoke Marshawn Lynch because we're thinking beast mode. We're thinking, this is, how can it get much better? But if you look at the all-time rushing stats for the Seahawks, Marshawn Lynch isn't even in the top 3. He's 4th. He has 6,381 total yards. Shaun Alexander has 9,429 total yards with 100 rushing touchdowns.
The 100 rushing touchdowns.
That 100 rushing touchdowns. I mean, that's unbelievable. Marshawn Lynch had 79, which is the second most, which is crazy. I mean, that's nuts. Like 79, you would think like there's no one else that's going to beat that, at least on your team, right? But it's unstoppable. And Kurt Warner is still ahead of Marshawn Lynch, but Shaun Alexander is still 2 spots ahead of him, which is crazy.
I'm really happy you brought that up. Shaun Alexander in general. I mean, he was a very solid running back at Alabama.
He was. The band.
Late 90s when Alabama was not really that good. You know, we think of Alabama now, dominating every week, but they were in this very weird purgatory state at that time. And yet he is running for over 1,000 yards in consecutive seasons with Alabama. I think his senior year he scores 19 touchdowns on the ground. So like this is one of the more underrated running backs in recent history. I think you're absolutely right with Marshawn Lynch. Everyone thinks beast mode, Skittles, yay! You know,
totally, yay! That's right. That's what
when I think of Marshawn Lynch, that's exactly what I mean. Yay! I think beast mode, Skittles.
Yeah.
Yay!
I go beast mode, yay, Skittle.
It just depends on the order.
It does happen
as long
sometimes.
as you get the yay in there.
Yeah, yay.
Personal
I
preference.
think that's fine.
Yes.
But I agree, like, it's amazing that, like, this is the guy who's on the cover of NCAA football and Madden is somehow underrated. It's like, it doesn't seem
It's
possible,
very strange.
Yes.
But I kind of agree with you, which I was prepared to not. because-
Right. At first, I could tell the skepticism was
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
I was like, I need to sell this. I need to figure out how
You're
this
not
is
gonna sell.
somehow slept on. But yes. In the end.
I want to add, I don't watch football. I don't know much about football. Every time I put football on, I feel like I'm like sneaking a cigarette because it feels wrong. But
It's like the most American thing. How can I? How?
Hot take.
Well,
Yes.
cigarettes are pretty American.
That's true.
maybe it's just me. Maybe it's me. But I just want to add that the early 2000s Seahawks jerseys with kind of like the oceanic.
Oh, those are classic.
Those are some amazing
Do remember
jerseys.
those?
Those
You're absolutely
fire.
right.
That was peak. That was peak.
I
Seahawks.
associate that with only with the 7 and 9 team. They made the playoffs.
That's kind of
God.
But
that's right.
But that's Beastquake.
The thing.
Yeah.
People
Yay.
associate that
That's
with
what you think of. That's right away.
And unfortunately,
I associate that with the Tony Romo drop snap.
Okay.
Oh
That's
man,
what
we're
I
going
meant.
into the archives.
Yep. This was actually
Great
a good Seahawk team.
Yeah.
Holmgren was the coach. Hasselbeck was the quarterback. They had the first seed in the NFC. Like they were actually
Literally,
a good team.
Hasselbeck and Shaun Alexander, they said, was like one of the most prolific offenses at least at
Hasselbeck
that
was
time.
Hasselbeck
It was
was
great.
unbelievable.
Yes. Of course, he had that
Unbelievable.
famous gap.
Yeah.
When he was
Well,
young.
sure.
We'll take the ball. We're going to score, and then instantly throws a pick six to Alexander. That's another.
I just want to point out the fact that you compared him to like Derrick Henry. Of like every running back you could have named.
Yeah. I know.
Great.
You had to throw him in there.
Both went to Alabama.
Both went to
Yeah,
Alabama,
yeah.
and also the fact that Derrick Henry's
Alabama.
becoming known for these long
That's
rushes
true,
now.
that's true.
I mean, he's serious
that
every
was-
single
yeah.
season now. He has like one at least 80 plus
I
yard
think it's
rush.
actually a very fair comparison, and that's the point.
Not in size.
No,
No, not physically, not physically.
Although Shaun Alexander was kind of big.
He was 225.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
5'11".
Well, what is
That's a
Derrick
stout
Henry at right now? Like, is he like 265 yet?
Yeah,
Oh boy.
He's a big man.
He's the new beast mode.
It's just one of those things where you wonder. Social media is not around, right? Facebook is barely happening at this time. How
different would it have been?
And I think that applies to everyone, obviously.
Sure.
But Shaun Alexander, the way he ran, wonder how he would, highlights of him would pop up on Twitter every day.
Yeah.
Like I wonder how that would have.
I mean, I'm sure he was on SportsCenter. I'm sure like he still got some airtime, but like the fact that like even like a TV station in Seattle was like making fun of the fact that like he's doing all the things that like pretty much every other running back that is getting talked about is doing, and he didn't get that due diligence, But eventually he got it, 2005.
Got there
Well,
eventually.
now he's on
That's
this
great.
podcast, so I think his career is now completely made.
No, seriously.
Now he can sleep at night.
When he's
We have
listening
acknowledged his
right
So with our audience,
He can be happy.
with our audience of millions, now everyone knows
yes,
Shaun
I think this is a
Alexander.
worldwide moment right now.
This is huge.
And I expect
This just made his
autograph
career.
Yeah, he should be. He should be thanking
He'll be
us.
doing it.
He'll be happy.
Or
He's
Madden,
thanking us.
Autograph Madden, I think it was 07.
Yes, please. Even though he's probably not too happy about that for ruining his career, but
Yeah, this is when the Madden curse was.
that's at its
Oh,
peak.
absolutely.
At its peak.
It had affected
It was actually like literally like a thing.
Who was the Browns running back coming back?
Peyton Hillis.
Peyton Hillis.
What a joke.
Well, that was when they did it through
That was when they did, like,
fan
the
votes,
votes.
Yeah.
and that
That
was
was a disaster.
one of the most preposterous
Because
things.
they were worried about a Madden curse. It was like, come on, what are you doing here?
I don't think Peyton Hillis was cursed. I think he just wasn't that good.
I will tell you. I want to segue this into my story because I may or may not be mentioning Peyton Hillis.
Ooh.
That's what I'm talking about.
Keep that in mind. I will ask you a trivia question towards the end,
You say he is slept on.
and he will be one of the answers. Maybe, just maybe. Tune in for the rest of the episode on Thursday.